So it's now the middle of May, and I've decided that it's time to extract some honey. These hives are pretty close to oilseed rape, so I'm pretty anxious to get it off before it all crystallizes. One of the problems with oilseed rape is that it produces great honey, but it sets very quickly. So if you don't get it off quick enough, it will crystallize in the frames, making it almost impossible to remove. So I'm actually going to take out some super frames that aren't actually fully capped, and you'll see those in a minute. Now, I'm taking the precaution of checking that the moisture content is below the required 20%. If it's above 20%, the honey will ferment and it becomes really pretty horrible pretty quickly. So you want to avoid that if at all possible. So there are two ways of checking for the moisture content to see that it's the right level. First of all, as a field test, which involves simply shaking the frame, and if when you do that very little moisture actually comes out of the frame, then it indicates that there's a good chance that the honey will be under 20%. Of course, the acid test is to use a refractometer, which will give you an accurate reading of the moisture level in the honey, and I'm going to do that just to check that we're well below 20%. So this is the frame. This is one of the frames that I'm going to extract, and I'm going to just give it a shake and see if any moisture comes out. There's a few drops of moisture on the roof, but nothing of any consequence. So I'm now going to check it with the refractometer. This is a refractometer. It's a handy piece of equipment. You can buy them on eBay for between £30 and £40, but do make sure that it's a moisture tester for honey, and it includes that in the description, because otherwise you'll find that you get erroneous readings. So I've now checked the reading using my refractometer, and the reading is something in the order of 14%. So this honey is more than ready to remove without any problems at all. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to brush the bees off, and to place the frames in a box which needs to be covered up, because otherwise it'll get covered in bees, and then I shall take it home and extract it. So we're back in my honey shed now, and I've got the frames of honey ready for extraction. This is my extractor here. It's a 9-frame electric extractor. I did have a manual extractor for a number of years, but this is a great time saver, and it certainly speeds up the whole process of extraction of honey. But the first problem we've obviously got to deal with is to get the wax cappings off the honey, and I've got a partially capped frame here, and as you can see, there's wax cappings on this part of the frame here, and also on this part of the frame. So we need to remove that. Now, you can use a knife, but I'm going to use a thing that I've used for many years, which is a hot air paint stripper. It's something you have to use with some caution, because obviously the whole of the frame can disintegrate if you're not careful. But used carefully, it can be a very efficient way of removing the wax cappings with really minimum of mess. So it's a great way of preparing your combs. I've got 9 frames of honey that I've taken from the hive this morning. So I'll now take the wax cappings off them, the frames, and put them into the extractor. So this is my hot air paint stripper, and all I'm going to do is to very gently run the hot air paint stripper over the capped cells, and you'll see them popping almost straight away, and that's sufficient to allow the honey to come out in the extractor. And I'll turn it onto the other side. This isn't a complete frame, of course, so it doesn't need huge amount of the hot air gun. So that's just simply just applying it onto the frame until the wax cappings pop, and that's simply it. So I now just put this straight back into the extractor, and I'll now do the remaining 8 or 9 frames. Right, so as you can see now, I've got the 9 frames into the extractor. This is a radial extractor. You can get other types of extractors which are tangential, but this is a radial extractor with all the frames pointing into the middle. So the only other thing you need to do before switching on the electricity is just to make sure that the honey tap here at the bottom is closed, because it is not unknown for people to extract their honey and then for it all to end up on the floor. So I'm going to just check the honey taps closed, and then I'm going to set it going. So the extractor's now running. I need to be careful not to run it too fast, too quickly, because if I do, the frames will break. So I gradually turn up the speed until all the honey is extracted.